Shantae is the belly-dancing, transforming, ret-to-go half-genie heroine whose look has changed a lot since she was first drawn back in 1994. Today, we're going to look at how she has evolved over the years. This is the pixel evolution of Shantae. I've loved the character and design of Shantae for years, but I didn't realize how much her style and design had changed until I got my hands on the Art of Shantae book last year. A stunning hardcover that WayForward published that's available on Amazon. There's an affiliate link in the description if you're interested in checking it out. Shantae was initially conceptualized in 1994 by Erin Bell, and she was fleshed out over the course of several years by Erin and by her eventual husband Matt Bozon. And over the years, Shantae has gone through a lot of subtle shifts in the way she's presented since her introduction on the Game Boy Color. But to tell her story, we need to step back to her initial design, where she was initially pitched for an SNES game before shifting over to a more high-definition PC pitch. And for years, the pitch didn't go anywhere, until the startup studio named WayForward took the pitch and shifted it into their new handheld division, which is where our first game, Shantae, steps in. Straight up, the footage for each of these games comes from the Nintendo Switch, as it's the best source of one-stop shopping for all 5 games in the Shantae series. And the first thing you'll notice when the game starts is how many signature aspects of the series were introduced back on the Game Boy Color. From the very first scene in the game, we see Shantae's lighthouse home, besieged by series antagonist Risky Boots, prompting Shantae to rush off to Scuttletown to protect the villagers. We're introduced to the Tinkerbats, Spiders, Scarecrows, Oni, all enemies that will make repeat appearances throughout the history of the series. But most importantly, of course, we're introduced to our half-genie heroine, Shantae. Her royal purple ponytail and scarlet belly dancing outfit were present from jump, albeit with varying degrees of detail as the series has rolled on. In this initial game, there's nothing as far as shading or detail work. Hell, her mouth is a 1-pixel black square, but the telltale traits are there. Gold bands adorn her hair, red slippers are on her feet, and she's wearing baggy genie pants as well as her red bikini top. I think, importantly, even with the limitations of the system graphically, we saw that Shantae had her bright blue eyes. And of course, we were also introduced to 2 of Shantae's signature animations, her crawl, and of course her belly dancing, which allows her to transform. Her second game, Shantae Risky's Revenge, saw a massive leap forward visually, as the game released as DSiware after being initially conceptualized as Shantae Advance for the GBA. We get our first real taste of detail here. Rather than just a blob of bangs on her head, we get our first real indication of the wild spikiness of her hair in this game. We also see our first real hint of detail on Shantae's character model. Lots of different shades of purple adorn her hair, we see distinct reflective surfaces and color variants in her hairband, and we get our first indication that she has both gold bands around her ankles, as well as a gold belt around her waist. Animations are also amped up in this game, with Shantae having a ton of different animation keys that give her a fluid, almost bouncy animation style as she runs, walks, jumps, hair whips, crawls, and even stands still in her idle animations. The game is incredibly vibrant in this regard, with all characters moving with more life and fluidity than in previous games. Even, ironically, the undead Roddy Tops has more life. Not to be overlooked is the massive upgrade Scuttletown saw in this game. In the first game, we got an over-the-shoulder view as Shantae navigated the town, but here, we have a multiplanar experience where Shantae is able to access different areas of the town using jump panels, moving her from front to back onto different streets. This would be repeated in the various levels that Shantae would navigate as well, giving multiple paths to follow through what initially just looked like detailed background scenes. Moving on to her third game, we have Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Pirate's Curse relies heavily on the sprite work laid out in Risky's Revenge, with one chief difference: shading. While Risky's Revenge had clearly pixelated delineation between colors, you can see in both Shantae's hair and her outfit that things are significantly smoother this go-around. It's almost painted. The power of the 3DS was really on display with this game, giving the world of Scuttletown and the different islands that Shantae and Risky travel to more life, and somehow even more vibrance. One of the chief changes in this game, however, is that we don't have any of Shantae's signature transformations or genie powers to play with. Spoilers, having lost them in her previous adventure. Instead, Shantae is going about the world collecting piratical items for her to utilize in combat, including but not limited to a pirate hat that can be used to glide when falling, as well as be inflated with wind gusts to rise to the air to higher platforms. She also has a pistol to utilize for long-ranged attacks, a scimitar to break bricks, as well as a dash attack and cannon double jump. It's a very creative and clever way for Shantae to be completely accessible to first-time players or longtime fans of the series. Before we get into the hand-drawn adventures of Shantae, I just want you to know these videos take a little bit of time for me to do and require a lot of research and a lot of gameplay to capture. So if you're digging this one, why don't you hit that subscribe button down below? I'd really appreciate it. Now, let's move on to Half Genie Hero. Our next game in the series is Shantae Half Genie Hero, which introduced a lot of firsts for the series. This is the first time we didn't have a connected world map for our Half Genie heroine to explore. Instead, the game is divided into a series of stages that could be explored and re-explored throughout the game as you collect the different power-ups. But, most importantly, we have a significant leap forward in visual style for the game, presenting the world of Shantae and Sequinland as an almost living cartoon. fully embracing the visual identity that Erin and Matt Bozon first really set forth for the character some 22 years before. Scuttletown is a vibrant living organism now, full of memorable townsfolk and buildings. The levels you enter are teeming with life and creative design elements and interactive aspects previously unforeseen in the series, and the enemies are bigger, sillier, and more fun to play against. But critically, Shantae is, for the first time, shown nearly identically to how she is shown on the box art for the game. She bounces with life and fluid animations. Even her signature ponytail waves in the breeze as she runs, and she wears the identical outfit in the game as she does on the box art with zero sacrifice to quality. All of those improvements to embrace the visual style the Bozons initially targeted with the character are on display throughout the game, with improvements to the entire supporting cast. Everyone from Bolo, Sky, Uncle Mimic, Roddy Tops, Risky, and even the Save Guru have improved visual fidelity and animations, making them even more alive and more vibrant. With the latest game in her series, Shantae and the Seven Sirens, we have to start off with the absolutely kinetic and gorgeous intro animation from Studio Trigger, the animation team behind series like Kill La Kill and Little Witch Academia. This intro and its song Rise and Shine Shantae are the absolute perfect introduction to what we should expect from this game. Trigger leaned into the overall dynamic visuals of the Bozons and put their own unique take on things while still being respectful and paying homage to the original designs for the character. In-game, Seven Sirens maintains a lot of what was introduced in Half Genie Hero, though the colors, at least in my eyes, appear to be more vibrant, or at least have a higher saturation point than the previous game. Shantae is still a bubbly, bouncy character, and the game is really served by the introduction of the other Half Genies, allowing the art style of the Bozons and the ability to implement that vision from way forward to really shine through. Some key changes include the fact that we go back to the traditional gameplay from the first 3 games in the series with an interconnected world on Paradise Island. And the island is a visual dynamo, with varying biomes as we explore the vast island and underground sunken city in our quest to rid Paradise Island of the Empress Siren. I don't think you're going to find a better looking character in games than Shantae. Her visual style has been remarkable since day one, and through to her latest game, it remains true to the initial designs, and is a fully realized and conceptualized character. I don't think it's too much of a stretch for me to say that the Shantae series is one of my favorite series of the last 20 years. It's right up there with regards to how important it is to me with things like Shovel Knight. It's a beautiful series of games that is full of life, and the storylines are full of hope and discovery and confidence in who the character is as she goes through continuous setbacks and continuous failure points, but she never gives up. The fact that the character is so full of life and so bubbly and so joyful and is always just so effervescent in her presentation is something that I think really plays well into who the character is and shows off a fantastic side of things that we don't often see in video games. A hopeful and confident character that develops as her games proceed. Shantae is one of my favorites. I love the series, and I love the fact that the book The Art of Shantae really showed me how the character has developed and evolved over the years. She went from an initial concept with some drawings being on the back of a napkin to something incredible.
There you have it, my friends, the pixel evolution of Shantae from her first conceptualized drawing back in 1994 through 2021's Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Shantae is one of my favorite video game characters. I love the games, I love platformers, and hers are some of the best. Out of all her looks, I do think that Pirate's Curse might be my favorite. There's just something about the animation and the design in that game that I'm just head over heels in love with. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite design is of Shantae, what your favorite look of hers is, and what you think her best looking game is. Please hit like, please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hey, if you really dig the work I do, consider becoming a monthly Patreon sponsor or channel member. For a donation of as little as $1 a month, channel members and patrons get ad-free early access to videos as well as behind-the-scenes views on what we've got coming up on the show. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay, and I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today as we look at the visual evolution of one of my personal favorite video game characters, Shantae. Check out the videos up here right now if you would like to see some further pixel evolution videos looking at both Kirby and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Also done ones on Batman and Star Fox. Those are pretty good as well. And remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.